it's now time to talk about the NL West. Let's talk about the Dodgers. People got very cranky. People got very cranky the last time we talked about them because I called how their means of shipping out mid people weren't happy.
Let's avoid talking about prospects today.
Which is very funny because Fangraphs literally put an article out where other execs were like, yeah, the Dodgers, they're so good at trading excess for real prospects. And I was like, really? It's almost like that's the entire point that I made.
Yeah. It just the mouthpiece matters.
Correct.
People will shoot the messenger.
When you can push your taped up glasses together and go, oh, Fangraphs said it must be true.
Yeah.
Dodgers
are the fully operational.
I pay for Fangraphs, or I pay for a subscription, and you should too. But I'm not slandering nerds. I am one, but it's just like, let's settle down. I'm not talking out of my ass.
The Dodgers are the fully operational Death Star. They have 12 starting pitchers that could be major league fours on other teams. They have a deep lineup. You heard they have so much depth.
Tyler Glasnow is a 4, an SP4.
Yeah. Like, what the hell?
I'm kidding.
Like, you have ROKI SASAKI throwing up 92-mile-an-hour splitters as your 5. Or your 6, maybe, probably.
Yeah,
they just have such absurd depth in terms of pitching. And a lot of it is going to be hurt because it's always hurt for them.
Correct.
But
when you know who their pitching coach is, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Little trivia for those that don't know. Mark Pryor is the pitching coach for the Dodgers. That's a great way to slander the Dodgers and the Cubs in the process. That's the type of shit that I'm on.
But, like they have 3 guys who I think could very easily win the Cy Young if they got enough innings. Like in terms of talent, I think Snell, Glasnow, and Yamamoto are all Cy Young level talent.
Yeah, here's my thing: none of them are pitching more than 135 innings. So
I think one of them is going to get to 155, and I have no idea which.
Dustin May. No. That'd be
Dustin May's getting to 55.
That'd be a crazy hot take if you're just like if you said Dustin May.
Dustin May throws 180.
I would low-key love that as a hot take because like that's so low risk. Yeah. Just be like, this is the year he's finally healthy. And they just let him.
And he throws like 180 innings of 182 ball.
I just I don't know. And also it's spring training, and this is my favorite thing to do where like spring training matters for some and not for others. Blake Snell did look like garbage in spring training. Worth noting.
He's Blake Snell.
I'm just never going to be bought in on him because
I'm also the same way, but he's good. Like he's just good.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of his pitching style where it's 5 innings of shutout ball every time out, but the Dodgers bullpen is also so good that they can do that.
I'll put it this way. He might be the single best player I would not want on my team just out of sheer personal preference and completely – it has nothing to do with talent. If he was on the Cardinals right now, I would be thrilled. But if it was like, oh, boy, I can have my pick of anyone, he's probably the cutoff for me of if you were to rank every player of how good they are, he's that cutoff where it'd be the first one where I'd be like,
I could take it or leave it.
Right. He's the 4th guy I would pick from this rotation. I will say that.
Would you take who are the 3? SASAKI,
Yamamoto, SASAKI, and Glasnow.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was SASAKI or
and Glasnow would be 3rd. I don't know, man. He can't stay healthy either. Although he's 2023 and 2024.
He is Tyler Glass now.
His 2023 and 2024, it was 120 and 134 innings. So, like, if he can just be that, that's fine. That's healthy enough.
If he can be that and go into the playoffs healthy, it's great.
Yes.
But the issue is he might get hurt at near the end of the year and not be available for the playoffs, and that's rough.
I just think that they're going to Kershaw him. They're going to
Phantom IL.
Yeah. His back has been acting up.
And speaking of Kershaw might be the guy who comes into the rotation for him.
Yeah. I mean,
they might just swap them. like midway through the season.
Tony Gonsolin and Dustin May inevitably like sneeze on each other and then get the bubonic plague, and Kershaw has to come in and pitch.
Bobby Miller and Kershaw in the rotation. And
yeah,
they just eat innings for the rest of the year.
The lineup, it's not even worth talking about. I will say,
Ian, I think, is probably who would
can we get Mookie Betts some like men's one a day?
Yeah, he needs to like put on 20 pounds ASAP.
Like that is like
That's
we're getting
scary.
down. He's getting down to like my size, literally, because we're about the same height.
It's really.
I'm gonna tell you this right now.
Scary.
If you're my height and weight, I can tell you this right now.
Not a Major League Baseball player.
Hey, what gave that away? I don't have anything else to say about this lineup other than, Tommy Edman is my name.
We also didn't mention Ohtani as part of their rotation because he is. He will be at some point.
That may be a video for another day.
Yeah, I don't know how much he'll pitch.
He's 18 months removed from Tommy John and still does not have a concrete timeline and doesn't have a throwing program yet.
Yeah, like I could.
They may just be being really careful with it, but like
that wouldn't surprise me.
There is such a thing as being too careful, though.
I agree.
So, and he also had the shoulder issue during the playoffs. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's
but it's another wealth of options for them. Yes. It's like the reason he might not pitch this year is because they have so many other guys who can pitch.
Correct.
Like if he was on a team that needed him to pitch, he would be pitching. The Dodgers don't need him to pitch.
Yeah, like I said, other than that, the only thing else I want to say about this lineup, don't be shocked if Conforto does anything. He's pretty good last year. People didn't realize it because he plays for the Giants. And my Nana's favorite player is Tommy Edman, and I love Tommy Edman so much. And he homered during the Japan series. I think Tommy Edman is going to hit a career high in home runs by like 4 or 5 because Dodger Stadium is easier to hit home runs with. And when you have a lineup that loaded, you have to pitch to someone.
Yeah, because Edman might be in the 9 slot, and that might be really good for him. Correct.
So I will.
Because if you're hitting in front of Ohtani, basically.
Yeah, I'm quite excited. Yeah. Currently has a career high 114 WRC plus. Oh, Carson sample size, it's 2 games. Let me cook. But I'm just saying it's feasible that his career high for WRC plus, I think, is like 106 or 107. I think if he hits like 17 or 18 home runs, that's what he's going to be, though. It's going to be like a 115 WRC plus.
Yeah. And he's going to be a great defender wherever he's playing. So
yes,
valuable ball player.
It's the Cardinal way. And on that note, you can shake your head all you want.
Another NL West team.
We're moving on to the D-backs.
D-backs.
Not the best 1 through 9 lineup. Can I give a hot take and say might be my favorite 1 through 9 lineup to watch this year? That's not
they're going to be a lot of fun.
It's a lineup of dudes I just like watching play baseball. And I mean that for all the good reasons. It's just like a bunch of guys that I'm like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I think
other than Naylor, I hate you, Josh Naylor. But I like everybody else. Naylor.
But like Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte,
Gino,
Gurriel, Naylor, Gino, Jake McCarthy, fun ball player.
Gabby Moreno could be fun. Yeah. And then
Pavin. He's paving his way to playing time. I can tell you that. He's going to be their new Jock Peterson. I'm excited to watch him play. And then, like I said, I think Perdomo is just going to be replaced by Lawler at some point. So
yeah,
even the bench, like Randall Grichuk can mash.
Grichuk is going to be a great platoon bat. He will mash against lefties as he always has done.
Alec Thomas is a good 4th outfielder to have, especially as a defensive sub, and just helps you out late in games, I think, as well for alignment. Yeah. And then the rotation. This is like a peak. This is like what the Cardinals, I think, dream of with a rotation.
Yeah.
Like pre-Heim Bloom hire. Like this is a bunch of guys in their 30s that will pump like excellence of 93.
And in one of their cases like late 30s. Merrill Kelly, I think, is like 39.
He is 36. But I mean,
he's 36. I thought
if it were me, Burns, Gallen, Erod, Kelly, Fott. That's a good ball.
Montgomery, no, he's getting tonnage on, but with like decent depth.
I'm very sad.
We are both Jordan Montgomery lovers.
I know. I feel bad about that. In our dynasty league, if I had room to roster him on my IL, I was gonna add him and just leave him on my IL.
I might do that.
That's just sort of like
do that now.
As sort of just like my
an
boy,
ode to how much we love him.
My boy needs a job, I'll never forget. The last time I was in the championship, I had such a lead that I added. This is 2022. I added Yachty off of waivers because I already had Wainwright and Pujols. And I was just like, my boys are getting a ring. Worth noting, this is so off topic, but Pujols actually had 1,000 OPS in the championship week. That dude actually played. So did Wainwright.
He went balls to the wall in the second half that year because he was just
it was legit.
I
added him for the nostalgia. I think right around the home run derby because I was like, what if this gave him a spark? And then he was like, what if I just turned into my peak? For 2 months.
What if he let the wheels fall off in those last 2 weeks?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
He was like, my feet don't need to be able to walk anymore after this. I can let it go.
We'll be robots in 10 years. It doesn't matter. I really like this bullpen.
The D-backs bullpen is nuts. Puck and Martinez at the back end is disgusting.
Insert clip of Trevor May reacting to Justin Martinez.
Who the f is this guy? What?
The top 10 reliever velocity list that came out today, where it's literally just Ben Joyce, Mason Miller, and Justin Martinez.
And the thing with Martinez, what's so crazy is he has a Kevin Gossman level splitter, so he doesn't even need to pump
demon splitter. His fastball isn't a fastball. He's throwing a sinker 102.
It's the Jordan Hicks. It's like, what if Jordan Hicks had a strikeout pitch is what Martinez is.
Yeah.
He is
could throw strikes.
Well, he's
occasionally.
He's working on
Jordan
that.
Jordan Hicks, when he was on the Cardinals, could not throw strikes at all. Martinez can throw strikes.
Martinez is unironically probably a 5 walk per 9, but he's going to strike out 12. So you're going to just have to deal with it.
Yeah. Martinez right now reminds me a lot of peak Aroldis Chapman. Somewhat similar pitcher.
I think having Ryan Nelson as your swingman is great, but Jalen Beeks, Shelby Miller, Joe Mantbly, former All-Star, Yankees legend. Yankees legend, Joe Mantbly. Do I have that right?
I think so.
Oh yeah, signed from the Yankees January 2020. I forget. Roster Resource just tells you that.
Don't they still have
even Ryan Thompson. There's one guy in this bullpen whose name I don't know. And of course, I guess shout out Bryce Jarvis. We'll see how it goes. But I'm here for it, man. I don't have much to say other than I think it's a good baseball team. I think it's a playoff baseball team, and I think that they made the right moves.
Yeah,
we'll see how the defense looks with Naylor at first instead of Walker. But for all of you chuds out there that tell me first base defense doesn't matter. Yeah, we'll see what the Diamondbacks pitching staff looks like, especially the guys when Corbin Burns may be struggling to get strikeouts, and he has to get a little craftier as he's shown the ability to do. We'll see how that
throwing his cutter and his sinker.
We'll see what happens with that ERA. I'm not saying it's going to shit, but I'm just saying first base defense matters. Speaking of teams that do not care about first base defense whatsoever, the San Diego Padres. I'm not a Luis Arraez guy, and I get he can do one thing really well. It's just a very difficult thing to do year in and year out, as evidenced.
It's hard to hit 360 every year because that's what it takes for him to be a very good ball player.
360 hitting Luis Arraez is a 3-WAR player. 310 hitting Luis Arraez is a 1-WAR player.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is concerning. he may be the best player I've ever seen get non-tendered by 3 teams.
Yeah, it's so interesting how he's been like the thing that people love to say is like he's won like 3 batting titles, and it's like, then why has he been on a different team at the start of the year for the last 3 years?
He is one of those guys that I think I don't know what a second contract will look like, because like this is his walk year.
Yeah.
And so
I could see him being a guy who just lives off of 2-3 year deals for the rest of his career.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he'll end up being kind of a mercenary type. It's just hard to find a spot for him that makes sense.
Because you don't want to put a guy with his profile in the DH spot, but he also sucks at defense so badly that you can't really play him in the field and not feel bad about it.
Correct. Well, or it's first base, but that's such a black hole in comparison to what you kind of expect.
Yeah. Like if he was an average second baseman, he would be so much more valuable because you could get that offensive position for
if he was even an average. If he was even like an average defensive first baseman, I think that it would be fine. Like you wouldn't hate it, but like it's just so bad.
Yeah. He's like Adam Dunn levels of bad at defense.
Yes. I'll be honest. I have concerns about the Padres. I think that they're a team that people are just like not talking about as like I have concerns about this team.
It's good. They didn't really do anything to replace. Profar put up like 3.5-4 WAR last year, and they didn't replace him with anything.
And like, I'm not trying to just like make it about my ball club all the time, but I mean, I kind of am. But I look at this lineup and I'm kind of like, okay, like you got one guy you're really scared to face, and then it's a lot of like 115, 120 WRC plus, and then maybe a couple real bad hitters at the bottom. I'm like,
like they might be starting Tyler Wade, and that's
like, I'm like, I've seen this before. It looks a lot like the Cardinals lineup, man. It really does. Like Arise, you've got Arise. Tatis is the guy you're scared of, obviously.
Yeah.
Health grade's a bit of a question mark. I don't think it's unfair to say that. What does year 2 for Jackson Merrill look like? Machado, I think, has sort of entered his 770 OPS accumulator era.
Machado, I feel like, could end up becoming Nelson Cruz, where he like just decides, screw it, I'm going to gain 30 pounds and be a full-time DH and continue to mash and have an 850 OPS and be a 35 home run guy for the next 5 years. It's like that. I could easily see that happening.
He could, but I'll be honest as well with the way his contract is looking, and if he just sticks it out at third, I think there's a real argument to be made that he can get to like 500 career home runs as a third baseman. And there's also like the Hall of Fame candidacy thing. But then like Jake Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts, these are solid ball players. But like when we think about the idea, which I don't necessarily even agree with, but when I've heard the criticism levied against teams of, oh yeah, but it's a lineup with like one guy you're scared to get out. Am I an insane person for saying, like, I understand Manny Machado is a Hall of Famer. He's a good baseball player.
Yeah.
Am I an insane person for being like, I'm not scared? He's not a guy. I'm not worried about him in the lineup. He's a good. It's not that he's bad. When I say not worried about him, I mean like I no longer have the fear of God in me when Manny Machado is in the box.
Yeah, and it's mostly because he's missed so much time.
Well, sure, but I mean, even last year he played 150 games. I mean, he OPS'd 7. What was that? 7.
Yeah, but he wasn't healthy for all those games he played. He was a guy who was nursing a ton of stuff. Like that's the thing with him is he's always nursing a minor injury.
Well, and also when you debut at 19, I don't care that you're only 32. There's more mileage.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think that just maybe
same goes for Correa.
Yeah, I mean, definitely to a greater extent, but like, I don't know. I'm not trying to make a hot take. I'm not saying this about Machado to say that he's not an all-star level player still. It's just in the context of like, he's not MVP Machado anymore. And so it's how long can he maintain the steady Eddie
Yeah.
30 home runs,
125, 120, 125 WRC plus with solid defense at third. How long can he keep that?
Correct, because last year he took a big step back defensively. And yes, he nursed the injuries, but it's like, what if that aspect doesn't come back? What if he's just a good hitter and the defense aspect of it isn't there? Because I think that's important. I think that's important to take into consideration. I still like him as a baseball player. Still think he's going to be good. But again, it's like Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts used to be very scary to face in a lineup, and now you're just like, yeah, he's a good hitter.
Yeah,
but I'm not.
He's a very good hitter for a second baseman, but he's not.
Well, he'll be a shortstop this year again.
Oh, will he?
Because they're going to put Cronenworth at second, and they're going to put Arise at first. But when I look at the projection models for a guy like Xander, I mean, the projection models have him bouncing back to be a 110 WRC plus hitter. Again, it's another like solid option. But yeah, and then the bottom third of this lineup, according to Roster Resource, is Gavin Sheets. Gavin Sheets.
Oh, right.
Jason Hayward and Elias Diaz are the bottom three of this lineup.
Yeah.
Jason Hayward, I mean,
if Sheets hits a home run in every game like he did in spring training, the Padres won't have an issue scoring runs. But
yeah, I don't know. Peyton, when you're editing, make sure you include everything I said about Machado, by the way.
The Padres could also, like, I could very easily see the Padres tearing it down because they're not going to be able to extend.
They can't tear it down.
Yeah, they can.
No, they can't.
King and Cease could both be gone.
That's not a tear. Cronenworth that contract is like pretty much untradeable. Now, he's not even getting paid a lot. It's just the length.
They could get. I'm just saying they could get so much for King and Cease, and they could trade both of them.
They won't move Machado. They won't move Bogaerts. They can't move Bogaerts. I think they won't move Machado
or Bogaerts. They can't.
But I don't like
neither of them are tradable.
King and Cease. They'll move, but I think what it's going to happen is the Padres are just going to be in a position where they're going to just shuffle. They're going to have to shuffle deck chairs for the next like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
and it's
their only long-term contract that was like a good investment is Tatis.
I think Machado as well.
But in terms of going forward from now, Machado was a great investment 4 years ago when he signed it.
Yeah, he's been at worst a 2.5 WAR player. His F4 is 2.5.
He's a very he when he signed the deal, it was great. Now going forward, it's good, average to good.
Yeah, because he's only making what? Well, 31.8.
Yeah. It's a lot of money for a lot of years. And
from a pitching standpoint,
it was bad when they signed it, and it's going to be even worse going forward.
From a pitching standpoint, though, they have shown they are the rehab kings.
Yeah.
They are the rehab kings. They will sign guys, and they will squeeze the absolute most out of them. So when it comes down to they could trade King, they could trade Cease. They also are just the kind of teams that I don't know. I look at them and I'm like, they'll just sign a guy that
misfit toys.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're really awesome at developing that. And their bullpen is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, their bullpen's great.
So
Estrada, I could see Estrada winning reliever of the year in the NL because he's that good.
Jason Adams, great. Suarez,
great.
Obliterated in spring training, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then you've got Morejon as well. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Again,
their bullpen's going to be great. But
when I comped the Padres lineup with the Cardinals, did not mean they're certainly a better baseball team than the Cardinals. I just mean the Padres lineup is a shocking amount of pretty good.
Slightly above average.
It's a lot of slightly above average, and I think the real question is, what is Jackson Merrill's ceiling, and can Fernando Tatis stay healthy?
Yeah.
Which I think are interesting questions. Yeah. The Giants. The most exciting not even the most exciting fourth place team. I'd argue that might be the Reds.
The most mid team in all of baseball.
I don't know if mid is the fair word to use because it's a quality ball club.
Yeah, definitely. I like their pitching.
I really like. I have one major gripe with how they handled their pitching, which we'll get to. But this lineup, I've always been a Lamont Wade guy. The Adames signing,
I think that was a great deal for them.
Listen, I know he got hurt. He was posting elite quality contact rates. I I'm curious to see what he ends up being in full. But I don't know how much power will be there. But there is a world in which that he is a Brendan Donovan type of like, if he can get up to like, he's only 26 right now.
Yeah.
If he can get up to about 15 homers at his peak, it's an interesting player. I think he's good for about 10 this year, but we'll see how that goes.
And then they have Elliott, who had a breakout year last year. I think he's going to play pretty well this year.
He will hit 30 home runs for the Giants this year.
I don't think he will, solely because I want their nobody hitting 30 home run streak to continue.
He's the guy to do it. He was the first right-handed hitter ever to hit a splash home run, which was just insane. His advanced metrics were phenomenal. He also capped off a wonderful spring, where obviously you can talk about the BABIP a little bit, but the big thing I want to talk about with him in terms of overall value, last year he only stole 6 bases. And I think part of that was just like, hey, you're hitting really well. We want you to focus on that. Like, you're breaking out. Like, we don't want to add too much to the melting pot. I think they're comfortable with the development that he's made as a hitter. And they kind of turned him loose in spring training. He stole 4 bases in 15 games. And he stole 6 in 121 last year. So when we talk about cumulative value, he was a slightly below average base runner last year. But if he can learn how to steal bases effectively and maybe mitigate some of the less optimal base running decisions, and that ends up bringing up that BSR, I think we're talking about a guy that I think we're talking about a guy that could put up like 3.5 FWAR, which is a really interesting piece.
Yeah. Matt Chapman is going to be Matt Chapman.
Wow.
He's a very good baseball player.
Was just wow. You don't talk about unlocking speed.
Yeah.
They just had him like, hey, by the way,
and putting up the power numbers he did in a ballpark that's very anti-right-handed hitter is really impressive.
Yeah, second most home runs he's ever hit in his career, and tied for the most in the baseball was real seasons, which is phenomenal. Yeah, and also he's another guy crushed spring training. Again, spring training is always for narratives, but he was very impressive. Patrick Bailey projected for 5 FWAR. Did I see that correctly?
He's that good defensively, Carson. He is that good. He is literally like, you talk about how good Yachty is as a defender. Patrick Bailey is in that tier.
No one's in that tier.
He is.
He's not. He
is.
I understand that you're too young to remember Yachty's peak, but I'm telling you.
I remember.
You were like 7 at his peak, brother.
Dude. I remember the 2012, 2013 teams.
Bro. Yachty peak defensive value for Fangraphs, 42, brother. Patrick Bailey put up 36. He's already 26.
Yeah, he missed like 20 games last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a catcher, though. He got 450 plate appearances. You know what I mean? He's still, you know what I mean? That's a full season.
Yeah, but 42 versus 36 isn't that much. Like, if he played 10 more games, that'd be 42 versus 40.
Molina did that in only like 10 more games than Bailey did.
Okay, so it'd be 42 versus 38, which is still not that much.
Yeah, it's still better, though.
Sure, but it's in the same tier. That's what I'm saying. He's in that tier.
Can't say that about the GOAT, unfortunately, dude.
He says in his Cardinals hat and Cardinals sweater.
That's correct. Listen, that's an undisputed fact. It's an undisputed fact that Yadier Molina is the greatest defender ever. Like that.
Yeah, and the only guy I think I could contest it with is another Cardinal.
Sure, or Brooks Robinson. I'm very happy.
It's Brooks, Ozzie, and Yachty.
And Yachty, correct. And Yachty did it at the most important position to do it at.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Ozzie did it at the second most important position to do it at, and Brooks did it at the fourth most important position to do it at.
Yeah.
So
center is definitely third.
Yeah. That was crazy saying same tier, dude. Guy's got 1 year under his belt. That's outrageous.
He's that good. But
Wilmer Flores is still DHing for this team in the Gargantuan 2025, according to Roster Resource. Don't love that. It'll be Bryce Eldridge soon, of course, but hard to look your fans in the eyes and be like, hey, we made the big investment. We're going to turn it around this year. We brought in a Hall of Famer in the rotation, who we'll get to. It's awesome. What else did we do on offense?
I mean, they brought in Adames.
Right. I said, what else? You know?
Yeah.
Half the lineup, it's wasn't great. How would we do about that? Hey, we got Adames.
Which is, I mean, like, to be fair, it is a huge upgrade. Like, that is a big move.
Yastrzemski will be in right. I think that what will end up happening is
he'll be solid. Like, he'll just.
Yeah, I think he'll. He's a strong side. I don't know how they're going to end up. I think Luis Matos is their fourth outfielder. Another big prospect that they had.
Former top prospect who hasn't really figured it out.
I think it's fine if he's a fourth outfielder type for him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm just saying he was a guy who was a huge name.
And then they've got Tyler Fitzgerald at second base for them.
Who else? Was I right in saying that Casey Schmidt is their second option at second base, or is there?
Yeah, they've got a guy named Christian Cross that they acquired this month, or 2024 from Boston, that they've got projected to also get some playing time. I've never heard of this guy. He was a non-roster invitee, but Casey Schmidt's the other guy. Tyler Fitzgerald, a really good base runner. He's just a good bench guy. You can't K. He was insanely lucky. Strikeout minus walk is normally used for pitchers, but his strikeout minus walk is literally 25%. You can't do that, man. You just can't. If I told you that about a pitcher, you'd be like, that guy's a Cy Young winner, isn't he? And I would say, yeah, those are the guys
that had 40 saves.
Yeah, exactly. But like, oh Lord, man, it's
not great.
No. And do you know what he ran in spring training?
52% strikeout rate. Or
so he slashed 283, 340, 543. All right. He K'd 46% of the time. and
what if that's just who he is? What if he's a great hitter who strikes out half the time?
If who he is, do you want to know what his spring BABIP was? Dream big.
500.
It was 524. Like, if that's who he is, then we are in a simulation and someone is playing MLB The Show, and they have turned the hard contact slider all the way up. You cannot possibly BABIP 524. He also BABIP 380 last year, and I don't think that's happening. The rotation.
Slightly more realistic.
I have one major piece of beef with the rotation. Why is Jordan Hicks not in the bullpen?
Yeah.
Making Hayden Birdsong and Landon Rupp fight for one rotation spot, I thought was egregious. Hayden Birdsong, definitely the upside guy, got some stuff to iron out. Rupp is your very classic five starter of like, he'll
throw to a 4.1 ERA.
He's got a pretty solid grasp on 5 or 6 pitches. You don't really know what you're going to get, kind of funky in the way he presents it. Like literally Fangraphs for their projections has Landon Rupp 130 innings of 3.9 ERA ball with an 8.5 K9.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Like he strikes enough guys out. He gives you the kitchen sink,
And you're in a pitcher-friendly ballpark, like he'll do what you need him to do.
Absolutely. And having Chapman and Adames, with him being a righty, like maybe there's more lefties to be faced and but like whatever. Like, what are we doing with Jordan Hicks, man?
Yeah.
You can go back on our site and look at videos we made a year ago where Scott Bentley and I joked of like, he'll be in the bullpen by Memorial Day.
He should have been.
He made 9 appearances that weren't starts. Like, I just like, I get the walks came down as a starter, but they came down to 3.9. Like, it's still not great. And he had a 4.1 ERA, and all of his estimators were worse. There's a huge discrepancy between his expected ERA and his expected FIP. It was not great. It's not been great in spring training. I don't know. I
think Birdsong losing a rotation spot is bad practice.
I think so too. I mean, I get that he's 24 and like he's got some stuff to iron out.
It's not like you're sending him down to get more innings and work on stuff. You're putting him in the bullpen. So if you're going to put a guy in the bullpen, put Hicks in the bullpen.
Correct. I also watched.
If Birdsong isn't in your major league rotation, he should be in your AAA rotation getting innings.
I also just watched Birdsong pump like a 14 K9 and give up 1 earned in spring training.
Yeah.
And Rupp, I think as well had like a 2.5 ERA in the same kind of innings and like, demonstrated value a different way. But both of them had wonderful springs. And I'm like, you just move Hicks to the pen.
Yep.
If they had Hicks as the swingman or like high leverage option, I'd be fine with that. There are days where Birdsong is only going to go 3 2/3 because he's at 85 pitches and like, the growing pains of being a starter. There are days Robbie Ray will do the same thing. There are days where Verlander may not have it and he's only going to go like 4 innings. And like Hicks is that guy then. Hicks so clearly fits for best value. And it just malpractice is like a very big word to use, but it just
it feels like you're discounting Birdsong, like you're losing out on, like you're lowering his ceiling by putting him in the bullpen this year.
And it's also just like, that's a guy you guys drafted in the 6th round. That's a dev win. Like don't burn a dev win because it's the sunk cost fallacy of, we gave Hicks a contract and we told him he would start. Unless it explicitly says in the contract that you have to put him in the rotation, then that doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
I'm not trying to side with, organization over labor here, but like he's getting the money. So I don't even think that's the scenario I'm arguing for. It's just, he's going to get paid either way. How about he gets paid in a way where he feels good because he's having his best share of results. And so are you. It astounds me that I get, if it had been a 2-year deal and they said they were going to try to make him a starter, it's much more reasonable. But like once you gave him like 4 years, like they did or whatever, like,
like
you need to understand it's about maximization of value at the end of the day.
Yep.
Crazy. To another team that likes to make confusing decisions, perhaps even more so.
Colorado. Yeah, that trade they made Rockies last week. Oh my.
Ooh. I'm not just saying this to be a contrarian. Tyler Freeman projected for better numbers in Coors.
Yeah, but who gives a shit?
I get that Nolan Jones was really good, but he was really lucky in that stretch in 2023.
But I don't care. You're gonna suck. Like the Rockies are going to be horrible. So
Freeman had a really great spring as well. I don't know. I'm intrigued.
Tyler Freeman sucks. He's not a good baseball player.
I'm just saying.
Making a desperation trade and trading a guy with a high ceiling for a backup second baseman.
Nolan Jones is also like 27 as well. You know what I mean?
And?
I don't know. It's interesting. It's also about a team fit thing at the end of the day. Like, they need room for Zach Veen and they need room for Jordan Beck.
Yeah, but they didn't even bring Zach Veen on the roster because they're stupid.
But Jordan Beck did. And I think they're also going to give Hunter Goodman the right field job, which I'm very interested in as well.
I just don't get it.
It's confusing a little bit, but like,
I think it's like, could you say they would have done it if Tyro Estrada didn't get hurt?
Maybe.
I don't think so. I don't think
they maybe would have because there's still like Freeman's going to be a good guy to have on the bench when Estrada gets healthy because he can play first base, second base, third base, shortstop,
Yeah, but exactly. But trading Nolan Jones for a guy who's going to be your 5th infielder on a horrible team doesn't seem like good practice to me.
The question I think as well is if you're the Rockies, part of it is also if Nolan Jones was terrible again, there would be both external and internal pressure of, well, we got to keep playing him. But he did well for us, so we got to go back to the well. And I think that one of the biggest things that the Rockies have been labeled for, which I think is a fair critique, is that far too often a guy will have some modicum of success with them, and they will just let that guy run that into the ground.
Yeah, like Herman Marquez.
Right. Like they struggle with the idea of like, we need to know when to like let a guy go and to capitalize on what we can when we can.
Yeah.
And so is it maybe a sell low? It might be, but like, we're going to have to see how that plays out. But I would not be shocked if Tyler Freeman manages to accumulate value similar to what Nolan Jones will put up playing every day at one spot for the Guardians.
Yeah, sure. But I also don't think it matters. You're the Colorado Rockies. You suck. You can afford to take a long shot on a guy who has a higher upside.
But the thing is, it's where would he play? Because everywhere else that Nolan Jones would play, they've got guys that I think have better upside that are younger and that are like Jordan Beck and Hunter Goodman and Zach Veen, and obviously Doyle's in center field.
Maybe. I don't know. It like oozes desperation to me, and I don't think
it's confusing. I don't know if it's desperation. You do know the story about the two of them as well that came out, right?
What's that?
They were FaceTiming each other being like, dude, I think I got traded. Like I got pulled from the game. So Nolan Jones was on FaceTime and Tyler Freeman was like, hey, bro, like I got pulled from the game. I think I'm traded. And Tyler Freeman was like, dude, I think I got traded today too. Like I got scratched from the lineup like an hour before the game. Like, I don't know what's up.
That's hilarious.
And they were like, wait, like, do you think, like, surely not. They got gotten traded for each other. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. It's just an interesting gamble from them. But
the Rockies have some interesting prospects. That's the only really good thing I have to say about them. Like, Verlander, I think, is a stud. I think he's really
not
really
even their
good.
best pitching prospect, pal. Not even their best pitching prospect. Brody Brecht. For those that don't know, two-sport athlete at the beautiful, prestigious University of Iowa. Can pump 104. Was a receiver. No. Proud alumni. I also was super high on him, and he's honestly perfect for Coors.
Yeah.
Like, his pitch mix and the kind of prospect he is. Like
that is true. The pitch mix is definitely very solid for the ballpark.
Right. It's the pitch mix for it is great, and he has a really dope fastball. Like, that's awesome. So, I also like the
And I am intrigued by some of their hitting prospects, Amador and Zach Veen and
Yanquiel Fernandez.
Yanquiel is interesting.
Interesting is a good word to use for him. He's got to prove it, but he's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's another guy where it's like insane athlete, strong as an ox, but we have absolutely no idea what it will mean in the major leagues.
Yeah, I just also it's time to acknowledge there is no one that has a greater stock investment in Michael Toglia than me in 2025.
Oh my Lord.
For petty personal reasons and also legitimate opinion on baseball reasons. And also for fun reasons. This guy's like an OOTP stud fairly frequently in the saves I have, which is dope because OOTP understands that being good at defense is important. And so it's like, oh, this guy would thus then play. Oh, and this guy hits absolute nukes and he plays for the Rockies.
Yeah.
Bing, bing, bing. Line it up and knock it over. This guy's an immaculate defender at first base. A plus defender in the outfield as well, which is interesting. So when you talk about team construction and all that, Drew, it'll be interesting. He can moonlight in left or right. I think he was positive in DRS for both left field and right field.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I think it was like a +1 to be clear.
In a small sample.
+1 in right field with a -1 DRS and was a 0-0 in left. AKA could do it. Also worth noting, a career -3 and -3 in about 400 innings in right field.
It's not bad enough where it's unplayable.
No, it's someone that I think that you can, if it's in a pinch, if Bryant needs to play first because you got to DH somebody else.
I also, the one thing I will also say before we do standings, Tovar, despite the chase, is one of the most fun players in baseball.
Oh my gosh!
Because he will just swing at every pitch, and when he makes contact, which is pretty often because he has great bat to ball skills, he hits the ball hard, and he runs really well. He plays amazing defense. Like, he's just a very, very fun baseball player.
That's so. The thing I'll say about the Rockies, I'm glad to spend time on this team. Is their owner very hilariously claimed they'll have the greatest infield defense of all time in 2025. That's a real thing that he said. He said it could be. Listen, man, Dick Montfort can do whatever he wants. You can email him right now and he'll respond to you. Like, that's like, he's a weirdo, but like, you know, I love it.
I think it's great that he does it. I think it's hilarious.
Their infield is interesting to me. When Tyro's healthy, like, the infield's interesting. The outfield is interesting. It's just the pitching. Like, when Delander, like, if Delander develops well, if Breck develops well, you know, Ryan Feltner, second half, had like a 2.8 ERA and like a 1.2 whip. Like, seems to be on the path of like a solid number 5.
That's the thing that sucks is that the Rockies have had so many prospects who would be successful pitchers in any other ballpark, and it's just they're being there's no minor league experience that prepares you to pitching course.
Well, it's also the issue that I think they struggle with is they are really bad at understanding that, like, just because this is a person that is a good baseball player, we are a freak outlier baseball park. We can't chase that.
Yeah.
We need to chase.
It's like the Mariners in the other direction, where they are such a pitcher-friendly ballpark that they have just fully embraced it and said, we're going to be the best pitching team in all of baseball by a mile.
Right. And they need to find hitters that, like Cal Raleigh, that's like, how can we get a guy that will succeed in spite of how this is built?
Yeah.
So
it's also really sad seeing like what Justin Turner said about them.
Yeah.
Like, is it worth it to go back if I'm the only move, because this team does not have a good enough offense to be a winning.
Like I'll say it again. Justin Turner can go fuck himself. That guy's so annoying. Famous shit-eating comment he made. Yeah, I was watching the Futures game. Mason Wynn throwing 100 miles an hour over to first base. When's that ever going to be valuable? Yeah, dipshit. When is having a good arm going to be valuable at shortstop? Scratching my non-existent bald spot. You wish that was you. I dislike him immensely. He looks like a gross, disgusting person. And every time he opens his mouth,
who's he playing for now?
Guangdong Tigers. He's on the Cubs.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Right. I remember that.
But anyway, like I said, my Tolia stocks, he's hitting 30 bombs this year. That he's nice.
And 27 of them will be Coors unicorns.
This is what I'm talking about, though. This is what I'm talking about. How many of his 25 last year do you think were at home?
10.
He hit 25 last year. How many do you think were in Coors?
10.
8.
Wow.
He hit 8 of them in Coors. 17 were on the road. Do you know what it is? His batting average, he's like a 240 hitter in Coors and like a 210 hitter on the road. So when he's at home, he's prioritizing like he's a doubles guy at home. Like he's more of a double. He's more of an extra base hit guy at home.
That's Tovar is just going to lead the league in doubles every year, and it's so funny.
He's just a very. He is a interesting player.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I've made a lot of personal investment in him, so I've got my eyes on him because he's a 10 DRS first baseman.
Yeah.
Also, Chris Bryant, I hope you're healthy.
Yeah, but his bat speed data has been really fun to watch this spring.
Yeah, results haven't been good, but it's kind of like Nolan Arenado, where I'm like, you're at a stage of your career where I don't really care what the numbers look like. It's how do you look physically?
Yeah.
Can you name
Chris Bryant? Can you swing a bat?
Yes.
If he can swing a bat, he'll hit decently. Like if he's on the field, he'll hit.
Can you name at least 3 people in the Rockies bullpen?
Victor Vodnik.
Yes.
I like him a lot.
There is one guy I'm like legitimately in on that they have. It's a younger guy that they drafted actually.
Bird. Jake Bird.
Just saying Bird ambiently. Yes, Jake Bird is indeed. That's not the guy I was thinking of. It was Seth Halverson.
Yes. He throw like 98?
Yeah, he moves me. Tyler Kinley should be their closer. This rotation, I really would like people to keep their eyes on Ryan Feltner. And other than that, you can kind of toss it in the trash can. And I always say that about Feltner, like it wasn't phenomenal, but he throws 5 pitches. They're all graded outside of his fastball. But if you can have a bad fastball and be a Rockies pitcher.
Yeah.
They're all pretty close to average. And in the second half in particular, he rocked a pretty nice line. Cut the whip down to 115. I don't know. He's interesting. The other guys in the Rockies rotation should be blasted off planet Earth, but Kyle Freeland and Marquez just have 2 contracts they can't move. Or is it Senzatella? They've got some. Which one has a terrible deal? Or there's like 2 of them?
I think it's Freeland.
Senzatella only makes $10 million.
It's not great, but
yeah, it's 2025. Marquez makes 10 a year. That's also doable.
That's actually pretty team friendly because he's a very talented pitcher.
Yeah,
just can't stay healthy.
Freeland, he only makes 12.9. I guess it was maybe when I saw it and it was 5 for 65. I just kind of opened my eyes because I was like,
yeah, we gave Kyle Freeland $65 million, but it's over a decent span.
His 2018 is still just remarkable. For those that don't know, he pumped like 200 innings of 2-9 ball as a Rocky starter.
Yep.
It was unbelievable to watch.
Yep. I remember that. It was
he did that his age 25 season, and it was like, oh man, after his
juiced ball year.
Yes, he debuted with a juice ball. He debuted with a juice ball, and his first 2 seasons put up a combined 6 F4. Like it was like, oh, have the Rockies actually found a guy? That they drafted out of college, and yeah, it just didn't quite work out for him, unfortunately. 5 through 1. No, 1 through 5. 5 through 1. Rockies, Giants.
Yep.
Padres, D-backs, Dodgers. So boring.
Yeah. It's like I feel like it's so set in stone preseason.
Yeah, like
I'll go nuts and I'll say Rockies 5, Giants 4, Padres 3, Dodgers 2, Diamondbacks 1.
Sure. Why not? I don't hate that.
Because I think it'd be fun. I don't think it'll happen, but I think it'd be really fun.
Is there a world, like, what could the D-backs conceivably do where I'd be like, they're a legitimate threat?
Lawler comes up and is a stud.
That would not move me enough because I think stud relative for what he could do.
Also, trading for Sandy Alcantara.
I had Sandy in my head. I think Sandy would be interesting because he kind of fits. They would have to shuffle the deck chairs. This is under the assumption Merrill Kelly gets traded then to someone.
Yeah.
They would do so. They would have to be real gamblers at the deadline, but I think trading for Sandy would make a lot of sense because you are
fits their timeline, fits their monetary.
2.5 years doesn't make a ton of money.
Yeah, fits their
monetary. Is that the move that let's go back to the lineup real quick. We're gonna
because if Lawler comes up and is good and they trade for Sandy, I think that team can compete with the Dodgers.
Are they?
And the D-backs feel like a team that will just randomly go on like a 25-3 run at one point.
Do they have? I would like to make the argument that they have the capability. They could get Lou Bob and Sandy.
I don't know about that. That's a lot.
I think
they could get a lesser starter and Lou Bob. which would also still move the needle a lot for me.
I think they could just like empty the farm though.
You're telling me like, other than Lawler right now.
You're telling me like I really like Ryan Waldschmidt. They've got a lot of guys that are close to debuting that are good, like Adrian Del Castillo.
Yeah, definitely.
Like they've got Del Castillo, Drew Jones, Ryan Waldschmidt, Lawler, Tommy Troy. Like they've got a lot of guys that they could sell to a team of like, especially the Sox, like, and really the Marlins. You could give like those guys, those organizations probably aren't in the market for, like 19-year-olds at this point. Like,
they want guys that are close enough where you can project it.
Right. And I think that
they're in the mood for gambling. Basically.
The D-backs have enough guys where like because you're probably trading if you're the White Sox, if you're the D-backs, you could probably trade Jake McCarthy to the Sox because he's got like 4 years of control left.
Yeah.
And he plays good defense in center. Like
that's the starter piece for the trade of like swapping them and then the
prospects.
Diamondbacks add 2 prospects on.
And if you're the D-backs too, like remember, man, they've just got Ryan Nelson just sitting in the long relief role as like the break glass.
I could see them trading Fott. And like he has value. Or for Lubob. I don't know.
I think if you go something like Ryan Nelson with a couple of those other prospects I named in Miami.
Yeah. Could get interesting.
I could be moved. I think the
NL West could get interesting if the Diamondbacks get aggressive.
I think we've discovered the hypothetical way that I think the D-backs could get really scary. Because if you're telling me they're going to roll a playoff rotation of Corbin, Sandy, Gallen.
And let
me ask you this. I would take that over a Dodgers playoff rotation.
I wouldn't because I think the Dodgers have such an insanely deep bullpen that it's like.
My thing though is go ahead.
I love Puck and Martinez, but the Dodgers have Trinan and Tanner Scott and.
Sure, but you can get at the deadline for them getting a 32-year-old reliever from God knows who for whatever is like that happens all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the Dodgers have 5 closers. They added Kirby Yates as like their 5th inning guy.
I'm just saying it doesn't really matter to me though when it's like Gallen, Burns, and Sandy are the kind of guys that are like, I'll pump
Burns went 8 innings, 1 run
and Sandy's like that, and so is Gallen. So I think that's how the Dodgers would zig that's where the D-backs zig when the Dodgers
where like the Diamondbacks literally don't need anybody other than Martinez.
Yes, the Diamondbacks essentially dare the Dodgers to pull the starter and go to the bullpen because they're like, Sandy's at 88 through 7. Yeah, he's got 2 more in him. Like that,
he can get 3 more outs.
Like that's what I mean. Go to like that.
That's
Martinez. The difference. Is that if you're the Dodgers and it's the division series, if Yamamoto or Glasnow is at 90 pitches, he's not getting.
I think honestly, if you're the D-backs, you want to face the Dodgers in a 5-game series.
In a 5, absolutely yes. You want to play them in 5, yes.
Yeah.
And you're gambling on your big 3 just horsing it because even if you drop one of those
and your lineup slugging enough,
even if you drop one of those, you get Burns or Sandy or Gallen in game 5.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Or if it happens like it did this year, you could probably start the one starter in game 4 because the way they did it this year, where there was an off day between games 1 and 2, there was an off day between games 3 and 4. So you're on 4 days rest.
I don't know. I think the D-backs are very interesting with that. They're maybe the team that I think are. I'll say this. I'll end this NL West segment with a hot take. I think the D-backs at present value even. No. It'd be the Phillies. The Phillies are the team best equipped to handle the Dodgers right now because the Phillies would basically try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But
I think the Phillies rotation better.
The D-backs need to use the Phillies blueprint of like, we just need 4 starters that can just shove deep into a game.
Yeah. And we need one who's going to go out and throw 7 scoreless every single time he pitches in the playoffs.
dude, I look at that lineup. Like, you're telling
Zach Wheeler
me
is so fucking good.
Like, you're telling me you couldn't, like, I love McCarthy, but like, he is, he's flippable. Like, or even like Alec Thomas, there's like that he could break out. Like, the thing about the D-backs is they've got enough prospects in the farm, but they've also got enough young guys in the minors that even if they're not super highly ranked, it's like there's a world in which I see them being good baseball players.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I also forgot that like Kevin Ginkel's also hurt for their bullpen. And when you include him in that bullpen, that is another arm. That's another bullet.
Another guy who throws 99 with good secondaries.
All right. I like what we've done here. I like our predictions. We kept that to 2 hours. Fantastic.